Okay, so hello everyone. So I am really enjoying this book, especially the studies and the science behind everything, all the studies they do, because I feel like in today's world, everybody says they're the best, they're the expert, everybody knows everything. So getting the actual studies and knowing the science behind everything that he's saying, I am loving that. One thing that stood out for me in these pages was that first law that we started reading here, not the first one, the in this chapter, law about the pressure is privilege. And it was funny because my sisters and my cousins, we have a chat and we all range in between like 30 to 45 age. We're all moms. And they're always joking like, oh, like life was so much simpler back then. And we go back and forth and saying, oh, you remember the days when we didn't have, like the chaos of today's world and all the responsibilities that we carry today. And as moms of young children, we're all like, stress is up there. And then once they go to school and they start sports and stuff like that, that's also added stress. So I scanned a page of the entire chapter and I send it to them in that chat. I'm like, guys, read this because I always tell them, I know if it's like it's nostalgic to feel how we felt back then, but how we felt back then, the things that we have right now is exactly the things that we wanted back then.
Mhm.
So they were like, oh my God, yes, I love it. It's like a different perspective of pressure and stress. We're always taught that stress is a bad thing. And I had a little proud moment reading that because I have a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. The 14-year-old is a son, the 10-year-old is a girl. And they both do sports. The girl's in gymnastics, she has shows. My son plays fresh high school football. And they're always like, oh, I'm so nervous. I'm so anxious about the game or before any show. I'm like, before reading this, I would tell them, guys, imagine like being behind stage or being on the field, suited up, and not feeling anything at all. Like the only reason you're feeling this is because your body knows what it's doing, and it's because you're excited about it. So it when I read about that, where you change the perspective of stress, how you think with it, like, yes, these are things that your body is has to go through. And I remember telling them that and like calming their nerves. And it's like not anxiety or it's not nervousness, it's excitement. Like this is excited. You love doing this. So that's where you're feeling this. And reading that, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I tell my kids. I felt so proud in that moment. But it was loving that. And then I also the law with what was it? Wait. The law with discipline and the age and the days we have left in life. I'm like, oh, so I only have 11,000 days left. So the last quote is being selective about how you spend your time and who you spend your time with is the greatest sign of self-respect. I am going to print that and put it in big, a big like cardboard and just have it everywhere I go because I often find myself after I do certain things or I don't do it, I'm like, damn, I should have taken this hour or I should have not gone to this dinner or I shouldn't had this event going like when I could be doing something else. And I'm always that is my constant struggle. And I go back and forth with that with discipline and you know, not using these distractions to avoid the things that I have to do. So those were my two major takeaways.
That's awesome, Raquel. And look, Chris, Darren finally showed up. Your wish is your command.
I know he
He's
got
here.
astray because he was late, but it's all good. Like,
Yeah. I have more. It seems 1 o'clock Wednesday Eastern is the single busiest hour. All good.
No, he just said he went to Nate Bargatze and he was like, if Darren ever shows up, he can verify how great the show is. So
There you go. Add it to your agenda, Adkins. You can get down there. Hopefully, he comes to Miami.
yeah, I'm not sure how that accent and everything would work in Miami. I mean, I think he's funny, but I've seen him on YouTube, but I'm not sure.
he goes
Uh,
worldwide and is selling out arenas. He'll do fine in
okay.
Miami.
Who wants to go next?
I'll piggyback off Raquel really quick. I put down here in the chart with your names. I mean, now that you said you have 11,000 days left, I'm like, dang, because I had calculated like 15 and some change for myself. And I was already like, dang, 15,000 days. And then you said 11,000. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got more time than that. So like, what do I do with it, you know? I did highlight something at the bottom of that same page. It says, we have both overestimated our own importance and at some deeper level, seem to believe we're going to live forever. And the next page I wrote like really big across the margin there, embrace mortality, because I feel like even the example they gave of like, oh, what if right now like the building was burning and you really had no way to get out? You would just literally sit there and let yourself die, basically. And then they asked them again after that scenario how they felt, and they felt less anxious, they felt more grateful, they wanted to spend more time with their family, they wanted to work on their health, like that kind of stuff. And you know, maybe we don't have to wait for like a study or an experiment like that or someone to ask us a question like that in a big group, but just kind of ask ourselves every day, you know, just not in a morbid way like that, but kind of just go through your list. Because what we used to talk a lot about before with other books is giving yourself or telling yourself like 10 things you're grateful for every day, right? So that's something that we used to say, oh, what are 10 things I'm grateful for? And then the next day, 10 different things that I'm grateful for. And I think that keeps you in that mentality and in that gratitude place where you can actually decide like, oh, okay, I need to do something better. Like I'm grateful that I can walk. I'm grateful that I have the ability to go for a jog, you know, all those kind of things. The other part was, let me see, where is it? Oh, the whole cult like thing where it says when you're a startup, you should have like a cult like mentality. I changed the word cult to tribe like, so I literally squashed it out the title and I put tribe like mentality because cult has such like a negative connotation to it, and even he backs that up. He says like you shouldn't want to have any cult like anything for long terms in whatever business organization or team you're building. It should really just be at the beginning, get everyone focused in, get all your A players. And there was even like a quote from Steve Jobs, like once you get like 4 or 5 A players in one room, you feed off each other so much. You're so excited because you've never had that before. All you want are more A players. You don't want to deal with B and C players. And then that sets the tone for the organization, and all of them, anyone that has had that kind of startup usually attributes their success to that tribe-like, I'm going to say tribe-like mentality in the book. But I'm loving it. The other thing was the whole delegation thing where he was giving the example like, oh, do you know what net worth versus growth is or whatever? And he was like, well, you don't have to know because there's other people that can know those things that are really good at those things. And there's even a little thing at the bottom that says, find out what you've got a natural ability for. That's the thing that you do best and just lean into that. So not to like delegate everything where you don't know what's going on, but just know that, hey, this is not my strength. And I'm going to let Crystal take care of all the math stuff because she's really good at math and I'm not, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm loving it. Loving the book.
All right. Well, I will hop on in here as this is, again, just repetitiveness of it being such a really, really good, fun, easy read, like applicable to so many different areas of the life. And over these last couple sections here, as I'm looking at the titles again, and just kind of my takeaways and what jumps back out to me is like what you were saying, Raquel, the pressure is a privilege. And finding and putting yourself in those pressure situations. And, you know, with reflection, I'm looking back here now, and a lot of what he was talking about, I remember at the beginning of taking on a big decision, whether it's in business or your spouse or whatever the big thing ahead of you is, you know, going into it, you are going to rise to that occasion. And I think back with The Office where like when I bought, taking out, you know, $1 million+ loan for this in my early 20s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, all right, I can't fail. But what did that pressure force me to do to rise? And it's like, that absolutely is a privilege. And, you know, I look at that more from a reflection standpoint, like he's right. And don't let comfortability set in. And I thought of you, Jay, where it's like, okay, what have you continued to do with all the different businesses? You've continued to evolve and grow and jump in these other places where it's just, you didn't just get to the top of one and be like, all right, we're good here. You've continued to expand and grow. And it's an inspiration in that aspect of just like, and it's fun to see in real life, you know, where that's going. And I thought of like Darren too, jumping out of the IBM world, as they talked about, like just, all right, here's the corporate world, now going into work for yourself, and did the agency, learn from that, and now you've got the gym, and it's just like constantly revolving and adding this extra pressure. And it's been cool to see those journeys and tying into real world examples from this book here. So I love that. The power of the negative manifestation aspect to me, I was like, where's he going with this? Because there so many of these other books we've talked about and read, and I thought of like The Secret when it's talking about, all right, just positive, you know, think about it, good things are going to come your way. But I was like, I don't know what I think about this one. But I loved it when it's like the reality, take the practicality into it and just really think like how important it is. Don't be the ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't just think nothing bad's going to happen. Bad things happen all the time. And so by just taking those few moments to ask, what's the worst thing that could happen out of this, and sussing those out, that you can then be like, all right, we can now avoid it. You mapped it out. I did like where he took that one. And I think the other really big one here that I'll just hit on and then transfer over, when it's talking about skills are worthless, but your context is valuable. That is so true when you look at all the different examples he gave, whether you were in HR, whether you're in graphic design, who are you doing it for? It's the same exact skill set and talent that you are bringing, but where is it rewarded? And so it's that good reminder to be like, all right, with the skill set that I have now, am I in the place that's rewarding me the greatest for it? Maybe, maybe not. Let me do some more self-reflection. So I really love how it's making it think, and it in a very fun read. So as always, again, thank you for the book club. One of my favorite things every week.
I'll just piggyback on you. Okay, my two biggest takeaways came from your skills are worthless, but your context is valuable. Kind of the same thing there, right? Like with what I do and branding, graphic design, event planning. You know, when I started this new career and journey, I really wanted to focus on small business owners, entrepreneurs, kind of getting started to help them get their brand, you know, foundationally set so that way they can carry it through and build their business. But that's not where the money's at. I mean, and what I was constantly facing was, well, I can do that myself. So I'm a DIY, you know, and they don't want to pay for the bigger picture, the full package. But when I transitioned into like elite CEOs and doing business conferences and things like that, it's a whole different ballgame. It's very much hey, look, I don't have time to put this together. Here's my expectations. Go and do it, right? And then I can deliver, and my skill sets are actually tenfold, you know, 10x because of the fact that I can take it and run with it. And so I thought that was an interesting way to put that, is your skills are worthless. I've never really thought about it that way. So it was like, yeah, it is. It's really the context of where are your skills being valued, where are they needed on the level that they'll be paid for. And then the discipline equation, I really loved how he put that into the respect of like the chips, right? Like where are you, like I just, because we were just at a casino this weekend, so I was like, okay, this is like we were gambling our time a little bit, right? So where are you spending your time? You already have this much time that's already dedicated and being spent on your sleep and your eating and things like that. And, you know, you've got a little bit that maybe you're already kind of putting into scrolling on the internet. And then you have this huge change of time, theoretically. And where are you going to spend that, right? And so it's just a different way of looking at it. It's like we always think about, okay, yeah, I have this, but if I have chips where I'm like, well, where do I want to spend my money? Well, maybe it's probably not scrolling, right? Maybe it's not doing these mundane things. And I kind of always looked at, you know, my day and my weeks and things like that, where I'm spending time. And as I've gotten a little bit older, it has been really directed at with my family and my friends and, you know, experiences more so than just to kill time or go do dumb, aimless things. But I just really liked how he put that into retrospect as far as like, here's the equation, here's what you have, and what you choose to do with that comes down to the discipline and what do you want that to be? Are you trying to build a legacy? Are you trying to create something that is going to give back and potentially prolong the time that you have? Or are you just spending willy-nilly and having absolutely no discipline at all? So yeah, great book. I am 1,000 times enjoying this more than the last book.
It's all about that discipline, accountability, and perseverance.
Hi, everybody. This is my second time. My name's Ron. You can distill this down into these particular chapters. You could get a little, do the hard self-critique. And of course, that did occur. One of the things that really struck me, it's kind of like looking at a pair of socks. Little word story here. You have the outside of your sock that goes into your shoe, and then you have the inside of your sock. And looking at, and specifically regarding the A players, you surround your business, or as you're building business, you look for those A players in the tribe-like mentality. They're sold out, they buy in, they have the same, pretty close with their own, without their personal vision, but that's included with the vision of the organization. But they've also translated that out on the inside of the sock to, as the word picture there is, with your business development efforts. So we have a tendency to look for A players to join our business or to be part of our group so that they could be smarter than us and lend those really added extra nuggets for daily life and to see growth happen. But I'm also very much focusing on the business development aspect of it, that I really want A players with me. You can go to networking events and be involved with people, and you'll shake hands, you'll get their contact information, and there's just something that you walk away going, and all judgment aside, you don't have that real solid gut feeling that, and you try to pursue it. And so to make it tangible for me, I'm actually in a place of trying to make more quick decisions at the business development level and the associations of people that will expand my business and bring a little bit more of the nutrients, because really that's the business development aspect. People that would bring nutrient, water, and growth to your business. And they also need to be A players as well. So that's just my morning thought.
Hey, that's awesome, Ron. What about you, Michelle or Lucia? She's working. She's trying to. They don't let her have lunch.
Hello everyone. My name is Michelle, as you can see in chat, in the screen. Truth is, I am late on reading the book because I usually have a meeting this time, so I just kind of take my own sweet little time reading, and then I'm like, oh, the meeting was canceled. I'm going to join, and so I'm not quite up to date, but I can tell you what I have been thinking about so far, and it's interesting because what I've really been focusing on is that skill aspect. I've been discovering the different. I think really what I've been really learning is, using skill that is in alignment with my purpose, because I have lots of different skills in different areas and can do lots of different things, but is it aligned with my purpose? And so I've found that, and I have a real life situation right now as I'm working part-time with a friend of mine, helping him just do some business organization. And he's like, Michelle, you've got this great business acumen. And yesterday he's like, will you work for me full time? And part of me was like, wow, what a compliment. And then I was thinking, no, I'm going to pray about it. But the first thought was like, no, because this takes me way off of my purpose. He has his own business in cars. And I'm thinking, that's great. And I have that skill set, but it's not in alignment with my purpose, and I'm finding that when I'm really walking in alignment with my purpose and my skills, I'm attracting people. that I'm not even necessarily seeking after. They're just, like what you're talking about, Ron. Hi, Ron. Um, I was at a networking group and, somebody was telling me, I was talking to her about what I do in wellness consulting and coaching and things. And I mentioned LifeWave and she's like, oh yeah, I've heard of LifeWave. And I respect people who are doing it. And, I really believe in it, but there's just something about it. And I was just like, well, what? She goes, I don't know. So I just dropped it. I thought, okay, no worries. So we kept talking. And then later on in the conversation, as she heard where I'm going and what I'm doing with my business and wellness and just really desiring people to have sustainable well-being in all ways. She said, "Oh, I know what it is that I don't like about the Lifeway situation." I said, "What is it?" She goes, "I don't like those people." And she was like, they're not in alignment with me. She's like, "But I'll be on your team." It's like I wasn't even asking. I thought, okay. And then as I started talking to her, she's definitely someone who just super, super attracting. She works with dogs and she's more of a dog psychologist, but what happens is, she's giving people such amazing results that if she says, buy this product, they'll buy like 10 pounds of it just because she recommended. And so she's just like, I'm just going to tell people to buy the patches for their pet and for themselves. And it'll be a duo and they'll do what I say because they always do. And it's just sort of, I'm looking at this thinking, wow, and the more we talk, the more I could see where we both have this foundational desire to support people, you know what I mean, and help them, and so again, just thinking about like the skill set, like there's a lot of different skills, but I'm finding that, for me, the skills need to be in alignment and consistent alignment with the purpose and the direction I'm going. And also, um, am I being productive or just busy with the skills that I'm doing, And so also kind of someone mentioned earlier about how time is being spent, sometimes I'm just busy, but I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know how productive I was today. I did a bunch of things, but did any of that actually move me forward towards producing towards the purpose that's in alignment with what I'm feeling I need to be doing with my time, So as I'm reading the book, I feel like there's a lot of moments where I'm like, ooh, that's what I was thinking, So it's really helping me and encouraging me that way. Um, and I will make sure I catch up and be right on the same page next time I come to the meeting. But at least in general, that's what I've been really feeling. And I was listening to him on podcasts, so it's fun to just kind of read the book and be able to like I'm a very physical reader, underline and highlight and write in margins, so that's what also takes me a minute because, first I'm just listening, but when I'm reading, I'm very actively involved. So trying to digest everything, but I'm very much enjoying it. So
Awesome, Michelle.
thank you,
Well, being
everyone.
that we have some new people, I just want to say, like for Lucia and Ron and you, Michelle, and Raquel, you've been here before. The whole point of this is really, I mean, I started this, I don't know, Chris always reminds me, I think it's been 6 years we've been doing this.
January 2019.
Yeah, consistently for 6 years we've been doing
Wow.
this. And really the whole point that I started this was really for me, to have accountability and to read a certain amount of pages every single day. And then, obviously I was reading a lot, but then I would forget a lot because we weren't talking about it. So I had this idea to do this book club because I think there's always, every one of you have pulled something different from this book. There's a different perspective from every single person. So it's kind of a reminder when you read, even though we're only reading 75 pages a week, it could be a lot of information. And by the time you get to today, it's like, hearing other people's perspective. So it's exciting to see you guys on here. And really, I would love to grow this thing massively, only just because I know how helpful it is to mankind to read, because I know most human beings stop learning around 22 years old. Right. And that's when everyone should start learning. Like most people don't read. When you get out of college and it's not a requirement anymore, you don't have to write papers and thesis papers and, closing papers, you just stop learning, right? And so that's the whole point of this is just to continue learning and have a community that's doing it together. And that pressure for me to be prepared has driven me to read all these books where maybe I would have given up or not finished or not followed through. But me showing up to these meetings and life happens, right? I mean, I love that you're honest, say, hey, I'm not caught up or whatever. That happens. Um, but the whole point is I'm just glad to have all of you here. Like Darren has been a friend of mine for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And, when he when he's not busy with work or his businesses, aren't happening. I love to see him here as well. My team, Lola and Justin, it just tickles me. Chris and I have been doing this from day one. I don't think he's ever missed a meeting besides the ones that we've said, hey, we're going to reschedule. So I love the commitment, and anybody you guys want to invite into this, Darren, if you want your manager to be in this like you did in your old office, like whoever, I mean, it's beneficial for everyone. So I'm really happy to have you guys here. Lucia, Darren, if you guys want to go.
Hey, sorry. Um, Last week, Jay, you made a comment about reading and listening, and I've never done that before because if I'm listening, I'm in the car and probably doing
Yeah.
other things. And then reading, it's like I just get tired and it's always at night. So I've done that this part of the book because I was catching up last week, and it's so much more helpful. And then, of course, I take my screenshots and then I'll write notes and stuff. So that's been super helpful. And I never really correlated the two because it's like I had to get on the same page as the audio, and that was like, oh, this is a pain in the neck, but it's super helpful. But for the book, I mean, what everyone said is pretty much all the takeaways. But I thought it was funny, not funny, but two things, like hiring A players was interesting. My background is hotels, and then now I'm in leasing. So it's like when you hire someone, it's always like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And it's like, well, don't you have it like, what's your strength to bring to either change something or show a different aspect? So I thought that was interesting to hire like your A players to do more and to help like someone else in an area that they're not experienced in or have that knowledge in. And then the other one was when they said, like when Steve Jobs gave the commencement speech, like he knew he was going to die. So they say when people know they're going to die, they make those bigger decisions, knowing like there's an end coming. You don't really know the when, but if you do, it's a little bit more dramatic in a shorter time frame. But I just thought it was interesting because it's like I always think like when I get mad at my kids before bed, I'm like, all right, what if either I don't wake up and that's their last memory of me, or vice versa, like that thing. So I always have to like take a breath or like rethink certain things. So I thought it was interesting how it's a thing and it's something. But really enjoying the book. So
Love that.
I'll jump in, and it's probably a little bit a repeat since I was not here last week. But the thing that keeps, so I'll echo what Chris said, very easy read. I just thought it was me, but now that everybody's saying it, I'm like, all right. Thought I was getting better at this, but this is an easy read. So it's,
You thought you were getting smarter?
it's good. Yeah, I thought I was just maybe back to reading faster and like, man, I'm swiping between listening. This is great, but no, okay. We'll probably be back to the slog here soon, which is still beneficial. So, all right. I'll go to the two things. And again, this may be a little bit repeating, but we always say, I mean, Jay, you talk about it. We've always said get 1% better every day. I like the illustration. Again, this is a couple chapters ago, but the illustration of just what that looks like very simply, like we think about it like, oh, don't brush your teeth. What's that going to look like tomorrow, next day, next week? Doesn't mean anything, but what will that be, down the road? Same. So that goes physically, that goes, spiritually, education wise, what we're doing here with the book, obviously from a business standpoint is near and dear to a lot of our hearts, like a little bit degradation, especially those of us who are in new businesses where you're just trying to grow as fast as you can. That 1% better, maybe you feel like you got something ironed out, but it still needs to improve. And that goes to the feedback loop. And the way they said it was just about being able to avoid paying for suggestions. Companies tend to treat employees like rats in a maze, sprinting after cheese, paying them for behavior. That's the easy, less effective, short-term, costly approach. The harder, more effective, cheaper approach is to create a culture where people care enough, are motivated enough, and are recognized sufficiently enough to step forward, contribute, and invest their energy for the betterment of the company. Again, I've got a company that's 5.5 months old. I see this all the time. We have ideas coming forward, and my nature that I battle a lot is like, yeah, we'll think about that. Let's roll that up and we'll talk about it. And granted, we can't be changing directions all the time, but that goes into the fail faster that I'm going to end my comments on, because you want to support people. One philosophy I've always had is that people will support a world they help create. Now, it can't be a complete willy-nilly, hey, you know what, I'm going to work these hours, or I think we should do something fundamentally crazy. But to that end, taking feedback, again, if we think about an organization, and we all know failure is feedback, and we can agree that feedback is knowledge, and as the cliche asserts, knowledge is power. Therefore, failure is power. And if you want to increase your chances of success, you must increase your failure rate. Those who fail to constantly fail are destined to be the eternal followers. Those that out-fail their competition will be followed forever. So that's just that kind of fundamentally goes against my core nature. I hate failing. I've learned a lot in the entrepreneurial journey, but I'm going to jump for a minute because this was my experience for those of us who are or were in corporate America. Was that's not encouraged. So even for technology companies or people that are out pushing it and saying we're the bleeding edge, we're getting in front of, again, this isn't everybody, but the general corporate big company think failure is not encouraged. And so this, and again, maybe a little bit of a review, but I just love this dialogue. He's talking to a marketing team. What reason do you have to fail more often? Prolonged, revealing silence ensued before I rephrased the question, asking, what reason have you got not to fail more often? The marketing manager's previously paralyzed mouth sprang to life, drowned me with a series of responses, including, I don't want to be embarrassed. I won't receive a pay increase. People will think less of me. I might be fired. I'm too busy. So all this stuff. And basically, the company had misaligned incentives. What the company expected of its employees was not in line with what it incentivized them to do. So the company wanted innovators, risk takers, entrepreneurs, but upon close inspection, as is the case in big, slow dying companies, people were simply not incentivized to do their job no more. So taking that all back is, as you fail and you're getting feedback, that is ingrained after 20 years of corporate America. Like, I haven't thought about it this way, but get the goals, hit these goals from a sales perspective or an organizational perspective. Not, hey, you know what? We tried this quarter. That sucked. That was a disaster. That promotion, whatever, but we will never do that again. And so as you get up organizationally and bigger, that becomes less, less encouraged. So as a small business owner, I internalize this because one, I hate failing because that sucks. And there's an ego hit that you kind of take with that. But this, as well as other stuff we've learned, you reframe it as, without friction, there is no growth. You fail forward, right? And so you learn, and then you're able to change. I could keep going on about some of the decision points. They talk about how type 2 decisions, that there's no catastrophic outcome. If you make it and it doesn't work, you can pretty quickly pivot. I'm still finding those in my business, but all that to say, I really enjoy the reframing and kind of reinforcing again in very simple, consumable terms of those who fail fastest and learn from it are the ones that everybody's gonna be following. So I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome, Darren. I always love your takeaways. So I would tell you, as I'm reading through this book, what I've noticed the most, my biggest takeaway is it's allowed me to remove all of my ego, because it's written so well and it's laid out so well with the 33 steps that he has. So, I usually try to remove, and I always tell people when you're reading a book, it's a conversation between you and the author. And a lot of times I can look in the mirror and be like, hey, he's speaking to me. And I feel like this book, he's done that. And I'm just, the whole time I'm thinking, okay, I do kind of that, but I want to make it better. I want to get better at the way that I'm doing that. And what you said, Raquel, my daughter, one of the things in golf that I've been trying to teach her is to remove that pressure. And so every time I would pull my camera out to record her to hit a shot, it would affect her. in the way that she was doing it because she would be a little nervous, right? And so we've been working on that aspect of it, and we have flipped the script. And so every time now I pull my camera out, she's able to relax and get into the mode. And actually, she hits the ball better when I have the camera out than when I don't have the camera out. So it's like I almost want to set a tripod up for her whole lesson because she plays better. And what I'm preparing her for is tournaments, because there's gonna be people around, there's gonna be people watching her, there's gonna be this pressure. And so, that's the conversation. Like when you get that feeling in your stomach, like that's a great thing. That's just because you want to perform well, but you got to know how to manage it. One of the things that I love that he talked about too is the art of delegation. And like I have, two of the best people in the world on my team with Lola and Justin. And they're really, really good at what I'm not good at. But kind of like what you were talking about, Darren, that ownership, like we just created this beautiful website, this beautiful school system, a lot of beautiful things. And, they're very proud of what we've created, right? But it was them, right? I was the visionary. I had the idea, and they executed on all the parts that had to have. And I just think that in life, I'm writing a book right now called I Don't Want to Do Shit and Make a Lot of Money. And the title is really just to get people to look at the title, because most people don't want to do shit and they want to make a lot of money. But the whole premise behind the book is I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do, that I'm not good at. And most people spend their time doing things that they're not good at. And they think they're good at everything. And the whole premise is in the book is like, if you rely on other people, maybe they don't do it as well as you. And maybe they don't do it to the 100% of your expectation, but if they do it to the 80% of your expectation, it's 100% awesome. And that's what we got to be okay with, because A players too will give 80% because that's what they're capable of. It's not that they don't want to give 100%, but that's what they've gotten to. And, even Lola and Justin, I've seen the evolution, that they are at 100%, 99% of the time, right? Everyone has an off day. Everyone doesn't feel well sometimes. Everyone has mental things that are going on in their head. So I think, when he talks about that delegation, what you guys are talking about, it's really, really important. Like you, Lola, I don't like a cult following. I don't like that word. And Lola, that word you use, tribe, is really good, but I like the word family. Because I just feel like family always has your back, friends always have your back, and Darren's a great friend of mine, but I don't really see him as a friend. I introduced my wife to my friends as this is my chosen family. Like these are the people that I choose to be in my life, and I think those people you're even closer to, right? Like Darren and I are not getting in a fight about anything, right? Like we'll razz on each other, we'll cut on each other, but when it comes down to it, he calls me in the middle of the night, I'm there. If that means I gotta get on a plane, means I gotta drive, whatever I got to do. And I was thinking about this when I was reading this. There was a congressman that wanted to go vote, on to open up the government again, and he was going to drive his motorcycle 16 hours because of planes and transportation and getting there fast. And in my head, I was like, 16 hours, he's crazy. And I was like, I would never do that. And then I was in my head, I was like, you know what? But if one of my friends called me and that was the only transportation, I would do that. Right. And so I think building that inside of your company where people have that involvement, they know, that it's going to benefit them, you could create that family in your business. And then, and so this is where my wife and I are very different. She is a worst case scenario, and they have to be doing landscaping. I'm sorry if you guys hear that. She is a worst case scenario person a lot of times. And I am the best case scenario. And she's always like, you never get stressed, because in my mind, there's always a solution. And if you get stressed, then you can't figure out the solution, right? You're only focused on what the problem is. And so you cannot have a worst case scenario mentality and be successful. It's just not possible, because you're worried about what's going to go wrong. And like what you said, Darren, it's a real thing. I mean, most people are fear of failure, but fear of failure mostly comes from ego. Now, when you have a successful life, you have kids watching you, you have all your friends waiting on you to mess up so they can razz you and give you crap for, whatever mess up you do in your life, your ego is in charge, right? And so that fear of failure, I mean, like he said in the book, I mean, the more you fail, the more you learn, the better you are. But most people just cannot get their head around that because that fear of failure, to them, failure is the end, and failure is just the beginning, in my head. If something doesn't go the way that I want it to go, then I'm just in this solution mode. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Being in the middle of that sucks. And it sucks. It affects your sleep, it affects when you wake up in the morning, it affects a lot of things in life. But all you just have to wake up, like Lola said, with that gratitude in your heart. And all I do is when I wake up in the morning, I talk about all the great things that are in my life. Because when I wake up, all the things that are stressing me are there. It's the first thing that hits me in the morning. But the only way I remove that is through that gratitude. And then the time management. So I don't know what you guys did your numbers based on, but I did my numbers based on living to 100. So that means I got 48 years left. That means I got 17,380 days left to live. So Raquel, 11,000 days. I don't know what you're figuring your math on. I know you're younger than me. So I think you need to extend your numbers a little bit to 100, because I plan on living to 100 at least, bare minimum. That way my kids are 60, and I get to spend 60 years with my kids. And so that, in my mind, when you talk about manifestation, like I feel like that's the number one thing that we have to do in our life, is say that we're going to live a long, healthy life. Because if you manifest that, that means everything you do in your life, when you comes to time, like, to me, sleep is the most important thing. We read the 5 a.m. Club, right? All of us read the 5 a.m. Club. Well, I got a little different philosophy on the 5 a.m. Club. Like, my wife sometimes wakes up at 5, sometimes I wake up at 5:30. The only time I'm waking up at 5:30 in the morning is if I'm in bed by 9:30, period. Because the most important thing in my life is sleep. Now, again, people can say, well, you're wasting time sleeping that 7 or 8 hours a night. I feel like I'm extending my time. If I sleep an extra hour or 2 hours every day, one, I'm way more productive in my day. I feel way better. I'm a lot more helpful to everyone in my life. I'm in a lot better mood in my life. So for me, and then that time in the morning, that's mine. Like that 3 hours every day in the morning, yeah, it's my time. But those 11 hours, that's my sleep time and my time. The 13 hours outside of that, I'm a way better version of me for every single person on the planet. So when he was talking about that time management and the time that I have left, now there's a struggle that I deal with. I love to watch sports on television. Like, love it. I love football. I love to watch football. I love Ohio State, but I love to watch all football. Like, I don't care who's playing. I just love the game. But I know sometimes when I'm sitting there, I'm like, I am wasting my life, like sitting here and watching these young men play football, right? But what it does for my mind, to be able to take my mind off of things on Saturday, really makes me a better version during the week, right? So this is the internal battle that I have. Like, when he's talking about this, I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, is that an excuse? Is that an excuse for me to like sit down and enjoy football and be able to disconnect? And I really don't think it is. I really think that it's a really important aspect of things that you enjoy in your life. Now it's not every day. I could watch it every day. I would enjoy watching it every single day. But I think there's just certain things when you're talking about your time, if it makes you better or it helps you disconnect from the stresses or the fears or anything that you have in your life, I think that's, what I'm getting from this book is what you should focus on, whatever makes you a better version. Like, we had a golf trip, a month ago that Darren and like 10 of the guys went on. And that fulfilled me so much, going on that trip, playing golf with my friends, watching football on Saturday evening, having dinner together. Like, that I walked away from that with my cup full, probably for 3 or 4 months, right? That I keep going back there. And when he's talking about time, I mean, I think those are the things that, you think about in life. When I saw your birthday this weekend, that time that you guys spent together and those surprises and all that fills your cup. I think that's what he's talking about. You want to make sure that you're very intentional. And so, I talked to my wife about football. She hates it. And I'm like, but I'm going to be very intentional in watching it. And I'm going to be okay with it because sometimes I feel guilty. I don't watch television. I don't watch TV shows. I don't watch it. The only thing that I watch on television is football. So anyways, those are my takeaways. I love how simply the book is written. I love you can't really tell someone's tone, and I haven't listened to his podcast. I'm going to start, but like the way that he writes and the way that he expresses himself, you can kind of feel his energy. And I think the guy is super young. I think he's in his 30s that wrote this book, right? I mean, he's not an older gentleman. So very, very wise. I think from this is another life that he's in right now. I mean, he definitely understands, and a lot of the stuff is in a lot of books, but the way he articulates it, I think relates with a lot of different people. So I wanted to finish by 1:45, but real quick before we end, what book did we land on, Lola, for the next one?
So the next one I just put in the chat there, it's Culture Code.
Okay, Culture
I-
Code.
Yes, the one that Chris is holding up.
Okay.
And what we'll do is next week we can wrap up this book. And I know there's some people that are a little behind, don't worry. We'll wrap up the book, but we won't start that next book until December 3rd. Like we won't start discussing that one until December 3rd because of the holidays and everything. So you have, that week of the holidays to finish this book and then, start the next one.
So you're saying December, we'll start reading that book the 27th, Thanksgiving
Yes.
Day is when we're going
Mhm.
to start reading that book. Does that throw anybody off, like as far as in travel and being able to commit to reading those days, or being able to have a discussion on the 3rd, or do we need to take a week off for the holidays where there's no pressure? I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm good with it. I read every day, so whatever you guys want to do. We'll take off the
I think
26th.
I think that's what we had talked last week and figures that out is that if we finish Diary of a CEO on the 19th, the 26th is right before Thanksgiving. So
People will be traveling. We won't do that one.
yeah, whatever. And so really then when we re-meet on the 3rd, we're started in and we're 75 pages into the Culture Code. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so just to reiterate everyone on this call, sometimes when we miss a week, we lose people. So just put on your calendars to be on this meeting if you can on the 3rd of December. And then if you want to invite anybody or talk to anybody, Ron, thanks for inviting Michelle into it. I really appreciate it. Sorry I didn't get to meet you, Michelle, in person at the event, but next time for sure. And I think that's it, right? We covered everything.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, always a pleasure to see you guys. And Culture Code, who recommended that one? You have that book? Did you recommend that, Chris? But you already have it. So
I ordered it last week when we said that was going to be the next book.
Okay, cool. And then what's the next one? What's the option on the next one, Lola?
Which one did we say, Chris?
I think
Chris
the
had
enemies
mentioned
one
it.
is good.
Yeah, looking at the list that you threw out, I think the other ones were Think Again by Adam Grant, Your Next 5 Moves, Stillness is Key, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, Hidden Potential, How to Know a Person. Those were the different ones. So
Yeah.
after
Those all sound good.
By the titles.
Yeah. I mean,
we're all about judgment here. Judge them by the title.
we read a couple that the titles were good, but the book was bad. So
Oh,
Can I ask a quick question?
yes.
As far as the meetings, so is it going to be like next week as well?
It's always at 1
always
o'clock
on-
on Wednesdays because the reason we do it at 1 o'clock is I mean, I know Ron, it's 10 o'clock where he's
Yeah,
at, but
same with
typically,
me.
okay, yeah, so typically we do it at 1 because it's lunchtime, and so people
Okay.
can, if they're at work, like Lucia's at work, they could take their lunch and tune into the meeting.
Okay.
It's a good morning break.
For 6 years.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you're at what time,
So-
Chris? You're at 9, right? He's in Alaska.
Yeah,
so he's at
we're
9
Alaska
o'clock.
time. So
Okay. So, but the week of Thanksgiving, that is
Nothing.
still happening? It's not happening.
No,
that
no,
week,
no. So we won't do it that way because people travel on
Okay.
Wednesday, and
Okay.
so it's just we never usually do the Wednesday before Thanksgiving or
Okay.
a
Yeah.
day before Christmas or New Year's if it falls, on that. And we usually take Christmas and New Year's week off because people are traveling, they're with their family and trying to jump people on. But we'll cover the book
Yeah.
after that. But
It'll
that's usually
be-
the only time we take off.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great,
So
thank
we'll
you.
meet next week on the 19th. We won't meet on the 26th, and then we'll start covering the next book on December 3rd.
The 3rd. Okay, great.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thank you guys.
Have a great week, guys. Take care.
Darren.